Hi guys, welcome back to another book review, and actually have a bonus, two book reviews. I really quickly want to talk about a book that I DNF'd for a second time, and then a book that I finished last night while it's still fresh on my mind. But if you're new to the show, thank you so much for stopping by to give a listen, to give a watch if you're on YouTube. I really appreciate it. Like, subscribe, follow along as we talk about books. I'm new to creating reviews, but just want an opportunity to talk about some books I've read, that I've enjoyed, that I've not enjoyed. Like the first one I want to talk about, the DNF. As I mentioned, DNF this book twice. It's The Picture of Dorian Gray by Oscar Wilde. I know it's a classic. I wanted to like it. I really did. I love the concept of it. I love the story of it. I've looked up kind of the summary to see how it ends because that's not finishing a book is difficult for my personality. I want to finish it. I want to know how it ends. So I looked at how does it end and all that. Love it. And if it was a short story, I probably would have absolutely adored it. Uh, uh, so boring. And I know that kind of comes with the territory of classics and just a different era of writing styles. I understand that, I appreciate that, but whew, just chapter after chapter of rich, snobby people sitting around talking. Yeah, could not identify with any of the characters if you're not familiar with it. I won't give away how it ends, but Dorian Gray is this young man, very attractive, a local artist, paints a portrait of him, and everyone becomes enamored with this portrait. And Dorian Gray himself not only becomes enamored with the portrait of himself, but becomes jealous of it because it portrays him as so perfectly young. Uh, but he himself is going to age, and so he resents that. And so ends up making a wish that the roles were reversed, that the portrait could age, but he would not. And so, as he gets tempted into living more of a hedonistic lifestyle of just living for pleasure and whatever he wants to do, and pursuing just darker habits, uh, all of that gets reflected in the portrait. While he himself stays young, all of the bad things that he does begin to show on the portrait itself, and so the portrait begins to show age and shows that ugly side. So again, a great concept, loved it. And if it was written today, it probably would be been done in a much better way. But again, it's probably just more a reflection of me and maybe a low attention span or just lack of appreciation of an earlier writing style where it's just very dialogue driven. But again, gave it two goes to try to plug through. Got about 60% of the way through and just couldn't do it anymore. I even tried switching over just to an audiobook format. I just, for me, I read because I enjoy it and it's fun. And to get 60% of the way through a book and not enjoy a second of it, it's just not worth it. And you can criticize me and shame me for not sticking with the classic until the end, and I will take that. Maybe someday I can revisit it and appreciate it for what it is. So great concept, great story, just could have been a whole lot shorter. Not that it's all that long, but really more of a short story than a novel. So that's a quick rant about the picture of Dorian Gray. But I do want to talk about Bird Box, the debut novel by Josh Malerman. As you see here, I hate how they do this. It's not a sticker, it's just printed on the cover that it was made into a Netflix movie starring Sandra Bullock, which I watched and really enjoyed. And then when I found out it was based on a book, of course, I had to read the book. And very excited when I found out there's actually a sequel to it. So that is coming up very quickly on my TBR. So, Bird Box, not very long. In fact, I would say it's probably the perfect length. It actually, in a lot of ways, kind of leaves me wanting a little bit more. which is probably good for a novel. I think there's a lot of areas where it probably could have dragged, but it doesn't. He does a very good job of keeping the plot moving. So, what is the plot of Bird Box? Just on the plot, you wouldn't think much of it. Bird Box is I guess for lack of a better phrase, a post apocalyptic dystopian survival story where you have early in the book all of these reports of people just going insane and going on violent streaks, most typically killing themselves. And so you have some people are taking this very seriously and they're starting to stockpile and they're starting to kind of board themselves up to survive. Other people are like, this is ridiculous. This is all hype. Nothing's actually happening. And so they quickly find out that it's people are seeing something that's driving them to this madness. And we quickly find out that it's some kind of creatures that people are seeing driving. And once they see the creatures, it's driving them to this madness. And so to survive, you have to either wear a blindfold, or as people do, they find a house and they cover all the windows, board everything up so they can't see what's outside. There's at no time do well. I don't want to get into spoilers, so I'm gonna hold off on this. So that's what happens, and it revolves around a woman named Mallory, who, if you watch the movie, is played by Sandra Bullock. And in the book, Mallory is like 24 years old at the start of the book. So they took a very different route in the casting. And the book takes place over a 5-year period of time. And it does a very beautiful job of alternating back and forth. It'll start off in the present day, and then it'll fast forward to present day, and then it rewinds to when all this chaos started, and then it'll jump back to what Mallory's doing right now to survive, and then it'll flash back. Mallory finds herself in a house with several other individuals, all trying to survive together. And at this point, it almost has a feel of the Night of the Living Dead, where yes, you have people trying to survive together in a house during a zombie apocalypse, and the zombies in Night of the Living Dead are really kind of they're there, but really the focus of that movie is the interplay between the characters inside the house trying to survive. And that's what a lot of Bird Box is. You have all of these individuals. Mallory's character is pregnant. When all of this starts, she finds herself in a house with another woman who's pregnant. And so you've got these two pregnant women. You've got this house of people who are trying to survive together with limited resources, nobody really knowing what exactly is happening. Um, Again, you know as much as the characters do about these creatures. All we know, there's creatures, and if you see them, they will drive you to a madness that will end up in you taking your own life. So that's all the characters know, and that's really all we know. And of course, in there we have some of the psychological dynamics of what happens over time as you're trying to survive together with strangers in these closed confines of a house. Um, if a new person shows up wanting access to the house, do you let them in? Do you not let them in? Do you trust them? Do you not trust them? We have some of the dynamics of people in the house starting to go a little stir crazy, and what happens in that. And then we flash forward to present day in there, where we see Mallory with two children in a rowboat trying to find a place of safety. And so as the book unfolds, we close the gap between those two events. Her starting off in this house with strangers, and now she's in a rowboat with two children trying to get to a place of safety, if such a place still exists. And so we kind of fill in the in between portions, and it balances tension very beautifully. I found myself more on the edge of my seat at points in this story than in the Stephen King books I've just read. So yeah, it definitely has that horror element to it, but really more of a psychological thriller in a lot of ways. puts you in the house with the main characters, trying to wrestle through what do you do. There's a point in here as she considers giving birth, knowing that the baby is going to be born into a world where seeing is potentially deadly. Does she intentionally try to blind the child when it's born? So you get a lot of these dark places that the characters go and wrestle through. Obviously, we encounter characters who just figure that I can't survive in this world, and they decide to end it. Won't say who or how those factor in. So you've got a lot of those elements. If you're living in this world where it's not safe to be outside, if you do go outside, you have to be blindfolded the whole time. Um, that will get to you. And so, really kind of does a deep dive into the psychological state of the characters trying to survive in this new world where sight is potentially deadly. So, outstanding read. At least 4 stars, if not 4.5 stars. Thoroughly enjoyed this book from beginning to end. Again, like 250 pages somewhere in there. So for a novel, not a bad read at all. Highly recommend it. If you haven't, Bird Box, a debut novel by Josh Malerman. I hope I'm saying his name correctly. Uh, Greatly looking forward to the sequel to see where that goes. Again, I don't want to give a lot of spoilers as to why I'm looking forward to where he goes in the sequel, but would encourage you to give it a shot for yourself. If anything in there sounded intriguing to you at all, even if you saw the movie on Netflix, you kind of get a general idea. But again, the movies are never like the book completely. So really encourage you. Check out Bird Box by Josh Malerman. I really think you'll enjoy it. If you like psychological thrillers, horror, dystopian fiction, I think you'll really enjoy this one. So check it out. So thanks for watching, and we'll see you back here next week for our next review. Thanks for watching. Take care.